been, and I've enjoyed it all.
Glad to have you. Glad to have
Okay, I
you
gotta
on here.
put you guys back on mute.
Okay, well, we'll have a recording of this, so you'll be able
Okay,
to
thanks.
check it all out on the recording.
All right,
All
thanks.
right, all right. Okay, and then we'll go to Mr. Elton Gumbel.
All right. Elton Gumbel, I was brought into the Black Family Technology Awareness Association through the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center.
Yeah.
All the way back in the beginning, I was looking at some of the video you had posted of the presentations and Tyrone's presentation that first year, and I was just wondering, who were those young people? It's been quite a while, been quite a ride.
Yes.
But definitely impressed with everything that the association has been able to accomplish for all these years.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Chris Jackson, one of the newer members of BFTAA and KUAW.
Hello, yes, my name is Christopher Jackson. I'm originally one of the members of the radio station, KUAW Radio, for about 4.5 years now. Now I'm a member of the board with the BTFAA Association. I'm glad to be a part of the board, glad to be here, and definitely actually willing to learn what it is as far as technology and all that you guys do. Thank you.
All right, all right. Yeah, I see, I just got a message that Mr. Dixon wants to join. Got to get him a link so he doesn't have to go to Facebook. So yeah, I'll work on that one. Mickey, thanks, Mickey. Prentice, Prentice Sams, you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Prentice Sams. I first became acquainted with the Black Family Technology Awareness Association around 2006 or 2007. And I like to think of myself as a success story of how the program, what the program can help the youth achieve.
Thank you very much. And the founder or the creator of this whole idea of a Black Family Technology Awareness Campaign, Mr. Tyrone Tabone.
Well, George, first of all, thank you. And it really lifts my heart and spirits to see that Kansas City's going strong and continuing to make such a difference. I've had the pleasure several times of coming out there, seeing what you guys were doing with the center when the radio station was starting, the mentoring that took place. And it's just great. When the digital divide, when we started this, the digital divide was really something major in the sense that a lot of people were focusing in on it. But then when the administrations changed, dollars disappeared and the attention to our hard work kind of disappeared. The problem didn't disappear, but the people disappeared. You guys did not disappear. We continued with Black Engineer of the Year, Women of Color, building with a lot of our major corporate partners to keep this interest on digital inclusion and making sure that our kids had opportunities. So I'm excited to be here for this reunion because I will tell you, and we got to talk about this in a little bit, this work is more important now than it's ever been. The racism, the digital apartheid, all of those issues are even more pronounced than they were when we originally started. So I think that there's a major appetite and a lot of folks willing to join hands and attempt to address this issue in a substantive way.
All right, all right. And my name is George Walker. I was one of the people asked years ago while I was a member of the community network at AT&T, that they said, they come to me, the president, our national president said he went to San Diego and he saw him do something out there called Black Family Technology Awareness Week. And he
That's
thought
right.
it was a good idea. And he had been trying to find somebody in Kansas City that would do it. Asked a few people, he said didn't come, so he said he asked me. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And because I was already volunteering with W.B. Du Bois, it seemed like a thing that maybe fit into what we were doing because we were already running cables and doing wiring, teaching kids how to do Cat5 wiring and stuff in churches and all. So I took that challenge up to do a Black Family Technology Awareness Week, didn't know what we were getting into. Contacted W.E.B. Du Bois, we had a meeting, they said, yeah, seems good. Brought in a few other people that we met, got some people from Sprint to come in. The Black Data Processing Associates, that's who we brought in, and they had the Sprint people. So we said, hey, we can all work together even though we're with different companies. And we went about trying to form a group to do Black Family Technology Awareness Week. We were able to put it together. And after we had done that, it seemed such a good thing that nobody really wanted to stop. You know, it's like, well, it's been 1 week, but we can't leave. And we were looking at, well, this is the campaign, it's supposed to be ongoing. So we thought, okay, we're from different places, different groups, different things. We could have formed an association to come together and we can all work together in this association. So after we had did the first one, 2004, we just set up a table at an NAACP event and told people about this thing called Black Family Technology Awareness, and that next year we're going to do something bigger. And we went about working on it for a year, and we've been working on it ever since. So I'm so glad that those of you that have been, we've been together for years. Our kids have grown up, went off to school. A lot of things, you know, have passed by in 17 years too, Teresa, Sabine, or Jackie, who wasn't sure, but it's been quite a ride and it's been beautiful, and it's not over with. As Mr. DeBorn was saying, it's still, you know, if we think about what we were doing, what we started for, it's still there. It's still there and stuff. So that's what we want to share. And I want to bring Leon in on it because Leon Dixon, as you know, being the mathematician, the guy that was into the technology age before the computers even got there, so, but was doing things. And he was always has been instrumental in supporting the ideas of people reaching out to each other and passing that knowledge on and stuff. So we're gonna try and get him on. I just sent Mickey the link to see if he can, I think that went out to him. There it goes. I guess I just sent Mickey the link. Okay, so hopefully Mickey can email that to him or text it to him, and Leon can maybe join in on this. So before we get through, we hope to have him in. So we kind of went over our introductions. I wanted Tyrone to go first, and he'll probably finish up with what we're going to be doing in the future. But to bring us up from the genesis of this idea and Black family and how it moved throughout the country, and then as we're going to be getting ready to go into this next phase. So Tyrone, if you could give us a few minutes of your time.
Sure, no, absolutely. And again, I really like to thank all of you. One, for inviting me, but secondly, for your absolute dedication in doing God's work, because you certainly have done that and you certainly have touched a lot of lives. And that's what this is all about. You know, what kind of legacy do we leave behind? And that was great because at that point, some 17 years ago, IBM, a fellow by the name of Ted Childs, stood up and was able to find at least $1 million and more and all kinds of support to help support this concept of Black family. And as you remember, we started off by giving grants to different cities. Yes. And asking these cities, here's some planning money, go off, start the Black Family Tech program. IBM used their workforce, their employee resource groups, to actually do activities as well. So we had the public facing activities such as what happened in Kansas City, but we also had a lot of activities that were ran solely by IBM employee groups throughout the world. Any place there was an IBM location and they had a Black resource group, those groups were doing things during February. Time went on, and obviously it's, the interest, I think nationally people forgot that there was a digital divide. I continued with a lot of my writing.
Okay, yeah.
Leon, how are you doing? Good to see you
Yeah,
here.
Leon, we're there.
So we continued with that, and we continued, as you know, many of you know, with the magazines, US Black Engineer, the Black Engineer of the Year Conference, which just celebrated 35 years, Women of Color, 25 years. So the work has continued, as you guys have done as well. But I think that the national attention on how devastating the digital divide really is, that fell out of the public attention after Clinton and Gore left office, quite frankly. Now, what have we seen? This pandemic has been a curse on one hand, but an opportunity on the other, I believe. This pandemic showed what happened 17 years ago when we talked about the digital divide. Now we see how horrible it really is. Kids that can't get online to take courses. I'm not just talking about public school, I'm talking about college students at historically Black colleges and universities that away from the safety net, they can't even log in. I'm talking about mothers who barely can get on and work, let alone having kids at home and not having broadband, let alone having a number of computers, but not even having broadband. And when all is said and done, teachers who aren't prepared to do online teaching and to deliver the content, all of the issues we were addressing with Black Family Technology Awareness Program didn't go away. They're worse now than ever before. So with that said, George, I think that what I said is that now your work is more important now than ever before. Because as people are coming and being forced to rely more on Zoom and the internet, not only, for work, for life, for health, for all of these other purposes, there is not only the digital divide, but there's the digital content part of that digital divide. What happens when I get on, if I can get on? How do I avoid, the race stuff that exists there, or getting locked into these other communities that really don't enrich my life? We talk about art. What art really is good art is things that expand your mind, not contract your mind. The internet has the opportunity to expand your mind, but too often it contracts people. It puts them into these little communities in which they don't grow. So now more than ever, as more and more of our people are embracing and coming online, they're looking for content. They're looking for direction. They're looking for the necessary resources. And that's the next stage, I believe, with Black Family Technology Awareness Week. That's why we're launched STEM City USA in the next 60 days. That will be a major initiative out there, reaching hundreds of thousands of our folks, giving them the resources that we tried to do with the Black Family Tech program. Now, real quickly, just let me say this. We have now had more than a year of this immersive programming that we've done with Women of Color, and Teresa can tell you because she's participated with that, and Black Engineer of the Year. We have completely changed the whole concept, not doing anything virtual, but doing digital twins. We've had more people participating online than we had in person. Black Engineer just had over 11,000 active people on the platform. And when you go to YouTube stream and you look at something like the Engineering Awards, over 50,000 people plugged in. and watched it on YouTube stream. So we're real excited about what we can do now. You guys have really been sitting in the future waiting on people to catch up. Now they're catching up. This last 17 years, George, has been practice. Playtime is over. Now it's time to move quicker. And I believe you're going to have a lot of support out there. You certainly will have my support to make sure that you're moving quicker, faster, and delivering the necessary resources to help pull our people through.
Thank you so very much, and we'll definitely get into that a little more. But we do appreciate that, because that's what I want everybody on here about, is that, you know, Black Family Technology Awareness is not going away.
No,
And we're looking at how we're going to build it. Teresa and I was talking the other night, is how do we expand? You know, not just staying the same or just staying around, but how do we expand it to reach and to work with other cities to get back into that connection with others, like-minded organizations and people across the country. So next I want to have speak is Teresa. She has been involved in the Women of Color. She definitely has been involved in the Black Family Technology Awareness. She's just a Wonder Woman there. And still supporting businesses and things she was telling me about. So it's a busy lady. So Teresa, not only about what you do or about the cybersecurity, but the career paths and the educational paths and all of that is needed, and how do we support other groups? Take it away.
Well, thank you, George. I wasn't prepared for that one. So me and George was talking about it. I brought it to his attention. Well, one of the things is that I do data science. And so I know that in our community and in the unrepresented community, that is not being taught. So with the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and it's a baseline with programming, you know, coding and that nature, but to even a little broader is that it's not being taught in the schools right now. So one of the things that I brought is that I have a lot of parents, and I had a few physics teachers and math teachers come to me to come into their high school and teach and talk about data science to their students, because they are unaware of what is it all about. When it comes to Python, or how can they utilize data science? You hear the word data science and big data and those type of things, but there's no curriculum, there's no program for the high school or middle school students to bring them up to a point where when they get to college or when they in high school, they can from a career path, because right now that it does not exist. So I brought that on because that's something that is up in the horizon. I know in St. Louis, one of the things is that from a DoD standpoint, NGA is building a whole new facility, and they just partnered with Harris Stowe University because they want more. They want to get more into the STEM and get into the community of St. Louis, and that's a historical Black school now. So a historical Black college. So one of the things that I was like, wow. NGA is reaching out directly to them, but they still doesn't have a curriculum, because when you get to college, one of the things that I know based on working with students, currently I do one-on-one, is that nobody talks about it. They talk about, oh, you need a program and do Python, but they don't know how to utilize it once they learn how to do Python, or what they can do when they want to go into a career field or have an interview or anything like that. So that is one of the things that I personally will want done, not only for women, but for, I think starting from middle school on up, because it's a lot of math, a lot of statistics, and a lot of analysis that go into that whole process, not only from a science standpoint, because a lot of people believe that, oh, data science is this big data, is artificial intelligence and machine learning, but it also is on the science side as well. That's where they do research. That's where data science originally originated from, was from the research standpoint, because they are true data scientists. But now you go into applications and software development when it comes to data engineers and data architecture, and with the cloud now. And so it's all tied together. And then they want to put all that and allow the machines to learn, right? So how do students learn how to be into that field? Because right now, machine learning engineer is the biggest. You can make, coming out of college, you can make $100,000. Okay, just straight out of college, because there is not enough, along with cybersecurity as well. That's another field that we don't teach that into high school or middle school. So that is what I'm here to help to bring that to life, especially from a data science standpoint, because that is definitely when machine learning is a big, it's a huge deal. So, but that's my field. That's what I did. So.
Well, definitely good, and glad to have your insight. One question.
And one other, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. One big old thing that a lot of it is game development. Game development is another big deal. A lot of people don't realize, like, parents came to me and like, my son want to be a game developer. I think I don't think it's a good deal. I was like, no, it is actually the best thing ever to learn how to do game development, not just video games, but actually be on the other side where you tell the story, you design the game, you do the 3D, you do the VR, you have the animation part of, there's multiple things, but just not only from a coding standpoint, but from the whole from the beginning of the video game to the end, and you own that. So you can actually do it independent. They have Kickstarters right now for high school, and they just pitch their storyline and say, I want to create this game. And it's like over $1 million. So I'm helping a parent right now, his son, he believes his son do not want to go to college. He wants to be a game developer. So I'm tutoring him, and he has this great video game idea from a design. He has all these, and so I'm putting together and have him pitch it. And I'm teaching him how to kickstart it. So the big video game company can take his knowledge, take his idea, and hire him or give him the funds to create this game under his own company. That is what I've been doing from a game development. It's not working for somebody if you don't want to or go to college. It's also, how can you use your current, as a young, use something that you like to do, video games, but expand that and make that your entrepreneur, a kid entrepreneur. You can do that. And that's what I'm teaching him, because he don't want to go to college, but he's great with games, and he learned how to code. I taught him how to code video games. We use this platform, and he did very well with it. And his father is like, oh my God, can I hire you? Because he went from a D to honor roll within 3 months, working directly with me, because he was so unhappy of graduated and he didn't know what he wanted to do, but I brought that life back to him. So that's another piece of it that I advocate as well.
Hey, Teresa, one of the things that we're doing with on this platform, STEM City, gaming, the skills of gaming, as you can look right around me right now, gaming is a critical part of that immersive experience. And we're going to be running contests for kids, for young people to develop VR and web XR facilities in these villages that you see behind me. So when you go into one of these areas, we're going to have multiple other communities set up inside these different buildings that you're watching now.
Oh, that'll be good. And so the one thing that I drove home for my current students is that that's what they want to do, and they don't want to work for a company. They want the partnership. There is currently a Kickstarter right now for people who gets to present, and they get all these investors to invest into to develop a game, even as a high schooler. And I showed them, took them to the site, and it was just like, wow, like people, that is something that I like that, because that is something that to teach them how to pitch their own ideas, especially when it comes to game development. So I like that's in the background. So that's kind of the good content. So I can help out with that because I have my own, but we can work together on that.
All righty.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. The next person I have is the, I guess, the junior of the group, but no less or even more important than anybody else on here would be Mr. Prentice Sams. Mr. Prentice Sams is a a young man that has really been doing his thing. I mean, he was, when he was in robotics and a lot of people maybe be a little light playing and stuff like that, he did the programming side. And when he sat down to program, he was serious about programming and defending his programming and stuff. Because if they said the robot wasn't working right because it didn't do this, that, and the other, and you didn't program it right, he would say, no, I wrote the program. It's in there. It's right. You know. So I said, this is a young man that not only was good at it, but he was passionate about making sure that he defended what his work, and he didn't have no doubt about it being in there the way it was supposed to be in there. So, Prentice, if you could tell us a little bit about the what maybe is good about having some out of school type of experiences in technology, and whatever else you're kind of doing or working on now.
Okay. So Mr. Walker said, I first started out with the robotics team, and this was about 2006 to 2007. I was a senior in high school, and for me, that was my first time. You know, it was one thing to learn about, to hear about programming and programming languages. It's another thing to do it. And so that was my first time actually, you know, like learning how to write a program and learning the logic of, you know, if, you know, the structures and just how the languages work, and kind of how taking an idea and translating that into a language that makes something do that you can interact with afterwards. So that kind of led me to, I've always been a gamer. So one of my original goals was creating video games. And sorry, I got my son in the background playing
That's
here.
all right.
So one of my, you know, that was originally what I wanted to do. I went to school for computer science. I started out at Prairie View A&M in 2007. Left there to go, moved back up here to go to work. And my idea was, at the time, was to go into computer repair. And so I went and got certified, you know, A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, you know, the whole nine, going through CompTIA. And started working, that's when I started working in computer repair and IT. So started out at the help desk, and moved on up to just general, actually being the tech guy for the help desk. So when the help desk computers start to mess up, you know, I'm the one that goes out and fixes those. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey.
And so I've been doing that as a contractor for the Marines for the past 6 years, since 2014. And once I got that experience, I, you know, being exposed to doing, you know, fixing problems I hadn't fixed before. I also had a chance using programming, having my experience, because, you know, it made my job easier. Some tasks that I would have to do manually, I learned I could automate it with, you know, using different programming languages. So it's been an asset to me as well. Then I started my business, Stoic 7 LLC, doing the same thing, computer repair, sales. And one thing that I saw that a few of the earlier speakers had touched on was, in terms of the digital divide, was a lot of times during the pandemic, was a lot of people were, you know, it was a matter of, one, having access to technology, and two, you know, how they're using it once they get access to it. And so, you know, and so, you know, it was a matter of, for a lot of businesses that were failing, mine kind of took off during that time period, because, you know, so many people who generally weren't using their technology before were starting to use it more. And so, you know, a lot of problems like cybersecurity, like making sure, even just on your personal level, your personal technology, making sure that, you know, your computer's clear of viruses, things that people would normally just keep in the back of their mind, because they're having to use their computer more. Now those performance problems and security issues are kind of just right out there in the forefront. And so,
Yes.
that was one thing that I like to do, was educate people on how to be able to use the technology and stay safe. And then in terms of the development for, you know, video games, and just finding new ways to be more of a creator as opposed to a user of, or consumer of the content. Roblox was one thing I discovered. I found out about that because my oldest son loves to play it. And so they, they have a lot of books and tutorials on how to create those games. Almost, all of the games that are on Roblox are created by other players. So that's an excellent platform for distributing games or, learning how to create a game and then distribute it. And also Scratch. They have a lot of,
Yeah.
it's a good way to introduce people to programming, or at least kids to programming. And yes, Unity, I've heard of that as well.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
And there's just a range of, when it comes to development, there's a range, from drag and drop for people who are just learning programming to higher level things, to where people are getting into the actual programming languages themselves.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
that's-
Unity has a student plan, so you can be on their platform for a whole entire youth for all students as well as teachers. So you can get a free license through Unity, and Unity is the one that most of the big games is on their game engine that is through Unity. So that is one of the biggest ones that is free. So a lot of people don't know that, but Unity is definitely free, and they have like all these resources, but you can get the license for free if you teach it to other students. So that is the key on that one. And they have drag and drop and programming. It's a combination of both. So
now that's the type of networking that we need, that we're working on, connecting people and connecting ideas. And as we bounce these things off of each other, then it can only get better. It's good. Now he mentioned and so glad to see his son there. So it may be aggravated, but I'm glad your son's right there with you. You know where he's at. But one of the things that he mentioned that he went down to Prairie View, and I know there's another guy on this call that had went to Texas to school to learn something about math and stuff. So I know he didn't have his picture up, but Mr. Leon Dixon, are you still on there? Can you go off mute and tell us a little bit about your thoughts on how this, how we can transmit this knowledge to a wider audience?
We'll have to get out, but it's a lot you can do on Zoom. And see, technology is constantly advancing, so you have to keep up with the current trends, And so right now, Zoom seems to be the market that we could use a lot,
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's helping out too much.
So you didn't get to introduce yourself. You weren't known when we were doing all this, and I really that's my bad that I didn't send you a link about this earlier on and stuff. But would you care to introduce yourself and give people a little bit of your background and what how technology and how you've been working with this through the years?
Okay, well, like you say, I went to Texas Southern, but I graduated in the early 60s, BS and MS, and I was an intern at NASA when I was down there. Because when NASA first started, and they had interns, well, they wanted to get some from some blacks there, so they got some from Texas Southern and Prairie View, and so that's why I learned how to program. I first started programming Fortran down there, because see, I never even heard of a computer till I went to college. They didn't even have any when I was in college. I didn't know anything about a computer till I went to work in NASA. And they just had computers, great big old computers about the size of a bus in a big room. And write your programs on the chart and send them down there, and then they would run them and then a few years later, then they started coming up with laptops and so forth. So things have been evolving kind of like Moore's Law. I'm sure you all familiar with Moore's Law.
Yes.
It's just constantly changing, And then we started the Learning Center. Bendix gave us at the time, I think this was in the 80s, a $25,000 grant for our computer lab. And that's when we started a computer lab at the Learning Center. And Harrison was our first computer director. He was over the computer program, and things just kept evolving. And then bring in George on this. Harrison came up with this idea of going to these churches and putting, help me out, George, what was
The telehub.
the telehub, what he was doing, he's wiring up the churches so they could have
Right.
computers in their churches. And we put up a tower so they didn't have to go online. They could get access, off of our tower. So
And
what,
we were doing software as a service. We had the Microsoft platform at the Learning Center, and all the churches had access to it through, and that's what they're doing nowadays. But we were doing that way before that distributed software thing was a big model.
yeah, so like like the irony was they would have a church to designate about 5 or 10 kids or something like that. George would train the kids on how to wire them up, and then when they get ready to wire up their church, we had some people who would take them out and they would wire up their church. And that's how we developed the network, And then George had to take over, and the things just kept evolving where it was more than that. I did the math part. Then Harrison, he had a computer class where he was teaching kids. What was that? C?
No, he's Cisco.
They're teaching them Cisco and stuff like that, And
Yes.
but they had a hard time learning computer math, so I developed a computer math program where they could learn how to do hexadecimals and so forth. Like a side note, it was a Mexican young lady in there who was a Mexican. I never will forget this. And she told Harrison, she said, I followed everything you were talking about till you started talking about them hexadominoes. They're really hexadecimals, So that's why I teach the class on hexadecimals. She called them
That'll work. That'll work. Man, it's good to see you too, Leon. I haven't seen you with this pandemic in so long. For those of you that don't know, we do a Black Family Technology Year. We used to do an award for technology leaders and technology pioneers. And Mr. Dixon, I believe, received our very first Black Family Technology Pioneer Award back in 2005 when we first come along. We said, well, he's definitely got to get one of the Pioneer Awards for being there from the very beginning of it stuff. And so glad that you could join us this evening. I don't know if you heard, because you came in late, of some of the stuff that Tyrone and the CCG is planning going forward, but we're going to be doing even more as we get back, Leon. So we ain't done yet, and I know you're going to be right there with us.
Well, like you say, things are moving like Moore's Law, just keeping up so fast. And see, the irony is these younger people now, they're much further advanced than my generation.
Oh yeah.
And that's just the way the things go. I remember making a speech one time, this is maybe back in the 80s and 90s, and I said, anybody in here who's over 40 years old, if they want to record something on TV, they're going to get their grandkid to show them how to set the box, because they can't do it.
That's right.
And that was theirs. It's even way worse than that now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I bought a new car, and I had to get my granddaughter and them to show me how to use all the stuff on the dashboard.
Yes. I tell you, it's definitely moving along, and we want to thank you. And like I said, we stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before us, and then we have to have our shoulders ready to support the ones coming along after us. The young men like Prentice there and Chris, and those that are coming along now, raising families, the young lions, as you say, go back to your book, Leah, but they're coming along, but we have to be there to support them so that they can even go further. And then we have to build that within our youth, because it takes a village, as they say. We've got to work together. It's not, I got mine and you get yours. And those of us that have been here, and everybody that's here now knows that. I mean, it's preaching to the choir, because we've been there and been in the trenches working with it. And I don't think anybody's been doing it to get rich. It's been a passion, because you don't do this type of work thinking that you're getting ready to get rich with it. But, and that's rich in the financial world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are getting rich, I look at the connections that we've made, that we work with young people, with businesses and all too, because the corporate world, if you're doing something, they want to get on the bandwagon and help out. You know, there's some that maybe don't, but there's a lot of times that if you're really doing something, they'll go through to try and get you more. When we first went to AT&T, you know, we didn't know what we were doing. And it was one lady on the call. She said, well, George, I have a conference call every week that we're on, and the president of our division is on there. I'm going to mention this to him. And she mentioned it to him, and he said, well, yeah, I can give $10,000 to it. Just like that. He didn't know what we were doing. We went to HCA, the hospital corporation, and told them we wanted to do Black Family Technology Awareness Week. And the guy, Rob, and I still friends with him on Facebook, we sat down there, we pitched it out that, and he looked at us, he says, y'all talking about doing something for a week. Have you ever did anything like that before? We said, no. sure haven't, you know, be perfectly honest, but we think we can do it. And they said, okay, we'll go along with you. We'll take a chance right along with it on a week-long program. And they were a hospital corporation. They weren't a technology firm, but then they brought in their people to assist us that worked in their technology departments, because hospitals, the medical field, is definitely a technology company. They may not know it, but they definitely are. But those are the connections. Those are the things that we've been doing, and we've got to continue to do. We've got a track record, and everybody should be proud of it, of what we've done. We're not going to rest on our laurels, but at the same time, we don't have anything to hide. There may be some that are bigger than us, some that are faster than us, but we've been doing this for 17 years as a nonprofit organization, built solely and operated solely with volunteers. And mentioning that, Mr. Dixon and them started teaching kids, tutoring kids in school, and started the W.E.B. Du Bois Center that's over 45 years old here in this city, doing work without pay, that you can find professionals that say, we'll come in, we'll help you tutor the kids. We've had accountants come in and say, well, we'll teach them that math class, and engineers that come in and say, you know, we'll work with this, and reading teachers that come in and work on the reading. And, you know, it's just so many people, you know, from teachers to bankers to, you know, financial people that come in and help and work. So we've been able to do that. We need to continue to do that and not let that die, but to strengthen it even more so, because that's, and what we need to do also is work more with our governmental bodies. I think that we've, Du Bois has been doing it, but as Black Family, we've not really worked with our governmental bodies as much. And we need to make sure that that stays on their radar, because just like you said, there's administrations change and stuff, and we have to get the word out of what we need here in the state of Missouri, here in the city of Kansas City, funding wise and things that they may be overlooked. Because when this pandemic hit, we saw that our school district was woefully unprepared.
That's right.
To send students home with computers that they didn't have, with laptops that they didn't have, with internet connections that were non-existent at home and stuff. So, you know, we still have some work to do to move forward with that. And with that, before we open this up for any questions, and for those of you that are on Facebook, if you want to post a question to this group, do that. I'm going to turn around here in a minute and look at the Facebook feed if you have any questions. But Tyrone, kind of layout you did with Teresa and I, where we're going with what you have behind you. You've landed at STEM City USA.
Well, everything you just talked about, George, is exactly what will happen on STEM City USA. What we have found over the past year in creating these immersive events is being live, that people actually, if you can't be there and touch, you can actually still feel that you're in the room with someone. So we're going to be offering classes. Teresa mentioned something. I already have her now for the gaming. All of these things that the students cannot get, we're going to offer these things online in STEM City USA. On the healthcare side, our partners, Boston Scientific, we're going to be dealing with health in live time. We're going to be dealing with finance. So all of these things are what people would get from you with Black Family Technology Awareness Week. You're going to have, for example, your own room in STEM City where you can meet. Your radio station will be casting through Black Family Technology, through STEM City. So we're using the platform in the trusted community now that everyone's embracing it, and then they can't go back ever again. Now that they're here, we're going to use these platforms to do something good. And that's going to be our growth. So that's what STEM City USA is all about. Then it'll become STEM City Global.
All right. That's definitely the way to move forward. So that's the thing, as you guys can see. Go ahead.
But George, I just want to say, but we need to start here. We need to start in our communities in Kansas City, in Baltimore, in Washington, D.C., in Detroit, in the places that we are now where we have significant problems. We need to start in Indian Land. We need to start in the barrio. All of these places where folks have been overlooked. You know, we told people, as you read what I wrote in the Covenant with Black America, I said, just because you have a cell phone doesn't mean you are a part of the technology revolution. You know, we have been forced what I call digital apartheid. We have continued to be consumers of the lowest level of technology. We have not been on the front of this. We have an opportunity now with something like STEM City, not to touch a couple of kids, but to touch thousands of kids and to bring that knowledge. Let me say this last thing, and this is for Leon and others. There's a reason that we don't die off after you have kids. And that reason is that our knowledge is important to make sure that our young people, no matter how old they get, they don't keep making the same mistakes. They don't keep falling into the same holes, that we are out in front to take the hits so that they don't have to take the hits. That's why we continue to live and move on. You are never too old to be part of the revolutionary change that needs to take place. In fact, you're even more important. Our elders are the most critical part because they've been there, they've seen it, they got the t-shirts to prove it.
That's right. That's definitely right. That's definitely right. Well, I tell you, I'm really fired up and impressed with everybody to come on. I see my wife is joined visually. She's there. How you doing, Mildred? That's for sure. And yeah, Leon, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, one thing you mentioned, young people, one thing we should keep in mind, the scientists have pointed this out. This is not just a comment, this is from the scientists. Your most creative and productive years are in your 20s. So what we have to do is we have to prepare our young people so that when they hit their 20s, they can hit the ground running. That's where, as a people, we've been falling behind because we haven't prepared our young people so that when they hit their most creative and productive years, they can hit the ground running. Now, classic example I give people, I say, like, for the Olympics, of course, they may not have it this time, but in the Olympics, whoever wins the 100-yard dash or the 100-meter dash is going to be somebody in their 20s. You know, and see, like, Einstein was in his 20s when he got his Nobel Peace Prize. King was in his 20s when he started the civil rights movement. It's not just for science and so forth, but what we have to do is make sure we train our youth. And you were talking about young people. When I tutor the kids, I say, like, I know you're gonna make mistakes in life, we all do. But what my generation is hoping for your generation is don't make the mistakes we made. Brand new ones. That's what we're here for. So you won't make the mistakes we made.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's it.
And that's enough. And yeah, I did post up that video where Tyrone had spoken, you had spoke at the 2005 thing. So it's on the Facebook page now. I definitely remember that evening very well, especially at Tyrone. We hadn't met him face to face, and he came all the way from Baltimore here, and we said, okay, let's do this. And I do want to let you know before we do close out that Baltimore has sent us our robotics coach that we have right now, a guy named Miguel Fernandez. He's a computer scientist working for Cerner, or he used to work for Cerner. He's changing jobs too now. But I told him, I said, well, we're going to be talking to a Baltimore guy this evening. I don't know if he's on here. I don't have the face of everybody. So if Miguel, if you're on here, you can speak up. But yeah, he comes out of your neck of the woods. So you've sent us a good one. As a matter of fact, he had a friend of his that also was here today talking to our kids at a presentation on the Da Vinci robot that does the surgery and stuff. And he's another Baltimore native. So yeah, Baltimore has been feeding Kansas City a little bit of their knowledge. I'll let them know that we've seen this, or that you've been on here with us and stuff. But it's been a good evening. You hate for it to end, and it doesn't have to, for the fact that we are going to build on this. This was just a start. So this shows the collaboration capabilities that we have. We have Baltimore and Reston, Virginia, kind of San Diego and Kansas City in here, so that we can all continue to build together. And we may be doing it in different arenas, but there's bits and pieces of it that support each other. Teresa has a program that she's working, and I said, yeah, Black Family definitely wants to include that into the offering, so that we'll be, part of, keeping it all together. And I said, if you want to use our 501c3, we can help out with that, so that we're not, having any undue strain of you trying to figure that out. You've been with us, you're a part of it. So yeah, we're going to work together on anything that comes up. So that, and collaboration is a key. When Tyrone and them started with IBM, the fact that it was nationwide and that there were a lot of cities involved. At one time with Community Network at AT&T, I had 22 cities that put on a Black Family Technology Awareness Week event because we were collaborating with Community Network. When we went to the employees gathering, when they brought us all together for our work as Black Family Technology Awareness Week, they gave Community Network for that program $15,000. That was the prize award. We came in number 2 of all of AT&T for employee events that were put on. So the fact of collaboration is, and I'm still in touch with some of the people in St. Louis and California, that as we do things, we can still tap into those employee resource groups to say, hey, here's something to work with. The guy that's president of Community Network in Kansas City contacted me a few weeks ago. He says, hey, are you doing anything? I got to find some stuff for our group to be doing. So if you're doing anything, let me know so we can get involved. That's what we're going to do going forward, is build on these connections that we have. We have some nationwide, we have some local, we have some personal ones. But yeah, this STEM City USA, yeah, we want to have a storefront in there. We hang our shingle out on that. So
real quickly, and we're going to be doing some of these planning grants under STEM City USA. I mean, we're coming back very strong. We're going to have activities throughout the year, and next year, our goal is to have over 500,000 people on the platform within the next, from the time we launch within that first year. to have over 500,000 people who are being touched with STEM City USA, which is really nothing more than Black Family Technology Awareness Week. That's
Very
what
good.
it is. That's what STEM City USA is. It is the rebirth, the relaunch of what we've been doing in a bigger, better way, or more effective way.
All right. So everybody, we gotta lace up our boots, get ready to work. Okay, Mickey Dean just said he just wanted to add that folks who are tech challenged, like myself, can always support groups like Black Family. Okay. And that's Mickey Dean. He's a good friend, and he has been there. We took kids to a dinner that the Nesby was having, and he said, "Hey, I'll pay for tickets if they're going to a dinner and stuff." He's been supporting the youth and stuff. Like you said, he's not a big tech guy, but he does support whatever we're doing. And you can say, "Well, hey, we need to take some kids here or do this and stuff." If Mickey can help you out, he's going to do it. And that's the type of thing that we want to continue to endear in people and stuff, because everybody doesn't have to be a computer science or a rocket scientist or anything like that. Some of them are just want to see youth succeed.
Mhm.
They don't know about it, but they know it's good, and that's what, is driving a lot of people. They'll say, "Well, no, I don't know about that computer stuff. I don't know about that programming, but I know my kids need it." That's what brought us along. A lot of our parents are our forefathers, and before then, they didn't have a big education. Some of them went to the 8th grade if they were lucky. Very few entered into the college rank, but they said, I know my kids need it.
Mhm.
I didn't get it, I didn't have it, but I know they need it. And they would see to it. That was a big driving force for them. And that's the same way we have to be today. And I want to say, I'm just tickled pink that we're all here and that we can continue to go forward. I want to thank y'all for being part of this reunion. Tyrone, we're going to get together on the planning things, and I will return calls. I'll be in touch with you. Same with Teresa. We're going to get together on that. For those of you that are here in Kansas City, there'll be stuff. I've got your emails and stuff on the link. We've already been in touch. We're going to work together as by next year for Black Family Technology Awareness Week, then all of this STEM City stuff will be built out. We'll have our portion, we'll be ready and in there. So we'll stay in touch. We'll work on the planning so that we'll have our portion done. Our construction, we put our hard hats on, get our tools out, and we get ready to start go build. Thanks a lot, everybody. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining. I hope that you enjoyed
Thanks,
this reunion.
George.
And we'll be in touch.
Thank you, George.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, Lisa and Chris, everybody.
right.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too.